How would your life change if you spent an hour each day meditating? What would it do to your brain? Well, one author details the experiment she carried out over 100 days.
Yes, Camille is here to talk about the confusion experiment. So we're so glad that you're here today, talking about something that all of us are fascinated with, whether they've tried it or not. So tell us a little bit about the confusion experiment and why you decided to do it.
Sure. It came out of a weekend retreat that I did with New York Times bestselling author Kyle Cease. And I was dealing with my confusion. And I was meditating at the time, but certainly not for an hour every day. His challenge was to see if meditation could heal my confusion. So the experiment itself was to meditate for 1 hour every day for 100 days. Then after the meditation, to take my phone and roll tape and capture whatever it was that was there to talk about. And then, as if that wasn't enough, to post that on my Facebook page.
Now, when you say confusion, what does that mean so our viewers understand?
Well, I have never seen so many people confused as we are now. And no matter where I go to talk about this topic, everybody's dealing with some level of confusion, whether it's confusion about what to do with their life, a decision that has to be made, what to do with their career, just a feeling of not knowing what to do.
Indecisiveness.
Exactly, exactly.
So, okay, so you did this. So what were some of the results?
It was a really powerful experience, I have to be honest. In the beginning, I resisted it for, quite a bit of the time. And it was very painful to meditate for an hour every day, to just sit still for that long. But I would say one of the first things I realized is that though there's confusion, and though there may be a lot of chaos, that I am not necessarily that confusion. And I am not necessarily that chaos. I also learned that confusion, there's a value to it, right? We tend to dismiss it, but it has a place. Like sometimes you're confused because you don't have enough information about something.
Right.
Sometimes you're confused because you have too much information. So I realized that if it becomes a way of life, or if it's how you identify yourself, I am confused, those are some of the red flags that maybe can be addressed.
Well, and I think there's a lot of benefit in becoming that stable force, not only in your own life, but maybe for other people, right? And if someone wants to do that, they can start through meditation. That's certainly a way to do it, but they can't just jump in and do an hour, right?
No.
You kind of have to take baby steps before you walk.
Absolutely, and what I encourage people to do is to simply get their phone, 60 seconds to start. Because it's really the practice of learning how to be still. We're so overstimulated, right? I mean, it's really hard for people to not be on their phones or be stimulated. So just sitting still is a big deal. So just do 60 seconds and you can grow it from there.
And how do you know once you've achieved the level that you want to achieve? I mean, what's your mental state when you meditate for a certain amount of time? Aren't we trying to achieve a certain level?
I would say no. And that's really the working of the mind that would ask that kind of a question, which I asked myself, because the mind thinks there's some destination.
Right.
But really, it's just the experience of being still. A lot of my ahas happened after meditating, later in the day.
In 20 seconds, what can we expect from the signing?
Monday, please come out. It's going to be great at Mostly Books. I'll talk a little bit more about my experience. I'll read from the book, but then get into an engaging conversation with people.
Thank you so much for this fascinating information. Pleasure to meet you, and we'll get him out there.
Thank you so much.
Now, Camille will be at Mostly Books on Speedway on Monday night at 7 p.m. And you can also learn more about the confusion experiment by visiting CamilleConti.com.